One of the stereotypes about Colombia is that life here is like super cheap. You can literally live here for like $500 or less a month, and you're gonna live like a lord. No, not true.
G'day guys, welcome back. AK Joel here from AK Joel's Colombia, and on my channel I'm sharing all the info you ever need to visit or even move to Colombia. Recently I've been doing a few interviews with expats with the hope that you'll learn something and maybe take away something from their interviews that you'll really resonate with. In this video I'll be giving you a different perspective than the tourists we generally see coming to Medellin. I'd say, if I had to guess, probably around 80% of the tourists coming here, English-speaking tourists, are from the United States. Probably a decent percentage from Canada to the UK, Australia, but you don't see that many Europeans. Today's interview is going to be with Jess. She's from Poland and she's been living here for 5 years. She actually got stuck here during the pandemic, but then she decided to stay. In today's interview, we're going to be hearing what Jess has to say about cost of living, safety, and why she really loves living in the city of Medellin. So with that said, let's get into it. Jess, thank you for being on with me today, and thanks for your time. I'm very interested to hear your story of how you ended up in Medellin. Would you like to start by explaining how you ended up here, where you're from? Yeah, go ahead, please.
Yeah, thanks for having me. My story is actually like a coincidence because I'm from Poland. Every year I had like a little tradition of escaping winter, basically. I would pick like a tropical location and just spend like 2-3 months there because, you know, winters in Poland are pretty harsh. So in 2019, I was hesitating. I didn't know if I want to go to Colombia or to Mexico. I think my other choice was like either Medellin or Cancun or Playa del Carmen. But because I'd already been to Medellin, even though only for like 3-4 days, it was like more familiar. So I decided that, hey, let's just go to Medellin and see how it goes. So in 2019, November, this is when I arrived here with a plan of just staying here for like 2-3 months as usual and then go back to Poland. But we know what happened in 2020.
You said before that you had been to Medellin before, and that's why you chose Medellin over Cancun. When was the first time that you came to Medellin, and how was it? What did you think of it? What was your perception of it before you came here? Why did you come to Medellin?
Yeah, it's a story. I don't really like to talk about, but okay. The very first time in Medellin was actually a few months before my second time. So I came here in November and my very first time was January.
Okay.
That same year. And I came here because my, well, ex-boyfriend, but back then my boyfriend, he was like obsessed with narcos. So he was like, hey, let's go on a narco trip.
Oh, okay.
Back then, it was the series was very popular on Netflix.
Okay.
So and I wasn't really like familiar. Like when he said, let's go on a narco trip, I was like, okay, where? Mm-hmm. And he said, okay, so let's go to Tijuana, let's go to Medellin, let's go to Guadalajara.
Oh, damn. So he wanted to do the world tour of narcos. He's a real... I've never heard of anyone... That's... Interesting. Okay, so that's why you ended up here.
I was just a plus one.
You were just like,
okay.
You didn't even know anything about this place. You're like, whatever. All right, I'll come.
I had no clue. Like before coming to Colombia for the very first time, I didn't even know what the capital was. Like I was clueless.
Okay, so you came here. You got no idea what's going on. Your ex-boyfriend's a little bit crazy. Wants to go on narco trips, and you ended up here. What did you think when you arrived here? What was your first impressions?
You know the theory when you like do something and then when you look back, you kind of connect the dots. I felt like I'm in a place where the dots are like connecting because back like before I came to Colombia for the very first time, I was like learning Spanish back in Poland.
Okay.
And my teacher was a Colombian guy who has a school in Medellin. I was like, what a coincidence.
Wow.
In my town. I'm from a small town, 35,000 people.
Mm-hmm.
He probably was the only Colombian there. And then I was like obsessed with like reggaeton music and everything. And I came here and I got all of that. Like I got the Spanish, the accent that I was actually familiar with.
That's not very often that happens to someone. Someone just goes on a mystery trip and they go, oh, wow, this place is amazing. I never knew that all the things I love is here. So let's jump back to your story of COVID. You've come back to Medellin with the intention of staying for how long where you wanted to come when you came in 2021 in March? 2020, sorry.
Actually, the plan was to stay here for 2-3 months, and then
Okay.
because you can stay here for like 90 days and you
90
can
days.
extend
Yeah.
your tourist permit. So
Okay.
I did that. That was still before the pandemic when I
Okay.
extended it, because I was like, hey, I like it here. I made some friends, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna see how it goes.
So you came for like a temporary trip, a few months. You arrived here, COVID's hit, then you're basically stuck. I think everybody knows the story of COVID and what happened. It played out over a couple of years. Let's talk about after everything opened, right? Why did you decide? Because you live here now.
Yeah.
You've been here for how many years?
Oh, that now it's my 5th year.
5 years in Medellin, a city that you didn't even know what was going on here when you first came. Can you tell us a little bit about, now that you settled here and you're living in Medellin, what's your day-to-day life like, Jess?
Work from home. I have my home office here, so we bought this apartment. So now I have like a real office with a comfortable chair and with all the gear that I need, nice desk and stuff. But before, when I was just like renting apartments, obviously I wasn't really that comfortable, because I mean, why would you invest in a nice office chair, for instance, if you're renting an apartment? So I would always go, or try to go, to like different cafes, and I still do that from time to time, because there's plenty of beautiful cafes and co-working spaces here in Medellin. So it's pretty remote work friendly, I would say.
I think in a place that's so cheap, I've been to other places in Asia and maybe different parts of Latin America. For places that's so cheap, it's hard to find a place that's actually got good infrastructure like Medellin. Would you agree?
Yeah, I've lived in a bunch of places before as well, and I gotta admit that this is like, actually, Medellin, I think it's right now very open to digital nomads, and they're creating a lot of facilities and opportunities for people to come here and obviously like spend money. But the connection is amazing. The plenty of cafes, like, and the weather is so nice that you can pretty much work outside or anywhere you want all year round.
You work for yourself, right? You told me you are a content creator of sorts. Can you tell us a bit more about that?
Yeah, for living, for money, I work. Well, I have my own little business.
Okay.
Of content creation, which is like just like written content.
Okay.
So it's articles, translations, and stuff like that. And it's not even me doing it anymore. I used to have those clients, and I used to work like 14 hours a day, because, like when you're a freelancer, either you have the project or you don't have it, and you never know when it's going to be the next one. So you take everything, like the work that I had piled up, and I would spend in my worst time was like 14 hours a day writing content. Even like I remember those nights when I was like 3 a.m. still writing. Terrible. So I was like, okay, let me outsource it. And now I don't do anything. I mean, just like, I'm like a project manager right now at this company, which is so amazing.
By the way, if you're interested in moving to Medellin, I've put together a free ebook. It's called the No BS Guide to Moving to Medellin. It's completely free. All you need to do is just click the first link in the description and you can download it straight away. If you're interested in moving to Medellin, it's going to give you a lot of information to prepare you to get down here. What do you like best about living in Medellin?
Well, this is a very obvious answer coming from Poland, but yeah, the weather. I hate summer. I love spring. Spring was always the best season for me in Poland. When it wasn't that hot, it was a weather for like long pants, trousers, and a t-shirt. And in Europe, basically, we have 4 seasons. So like, I feel like for the majority of the year, people are just waiting for the summer. And it's just like, there's depression in fall, winter, and there's like hope in spring, and then happiness in summer.
What else do you like here?
It's a beautiful city. It's super green. Like, I've never seen a city this big that has so many parks, so many trees and everything. I don't know, like for me, Medellin is 2 colors, green and orange. And orange for the brick buildings, basically. But the green is everywhere. We have parks everywhere, like here around. We can like walk your dogs and everything.
And where do you live?
Envigado.
Ah, okay. Envigado is an interesting one. You don't hear many people our age living out there. It's usually older people. So why did you decide on Envigado over all the other places you lived? You lived in Laureles, like Polaro, all the other ones, obviously. Sabaneta. What's the best about Envigado?
Air quality, definitely, because we live a bit higher. I mean, basically the worst air quality is probably Poblado and Laureles, because it's at the bottom of the valley. So I picked this because of the air quality. I picked it because it's more local. peaceful, more quiet, also safer. I
Okay.
feel way safer here than I was in Poblado. Poblado is full of tourists, so
Yeah.
basically it's like a target.
What type of people would you recommend Envigado to?
I think people that are looking for probably something long term, because I think like when people are just coming here for a week or 2 weeks, I normally tell them, yeah, go to Poblado, you're gonna have everything there, and it's like it has the vibe, especially if you like, I don't know, nightlife. Poblado is the tourist bubble.
One question I wanted to ask you, Envigado seems amazing, by the way. I would like to live there someday. But one thing I have heard though, it can be kind of isolating. You know, Poblado, you walk out your door, there's co-work here, cafe there, gringo there, gringo there. What about people who don't assimilate with the culture and don't speak Spanish? Can they still live over there and make friends?
I think basically if you come here, you do need to speak a little Spanish, like at least the basics, because you're just gonna have a very hard time doing anything from grocery shopping to booking a cabs or whatever. People probably have like this idea of Envigado that is like super local and there's only Colombians living here or something like that. We have in this building, we have a bunch of gringos as well, but they're like also like, again, they live here long term. They have families there, like probably Colombian wives or husbands. That's why they're picking, because this is very what's the word? God, I forgot in all three languages, which is funny.
If anyone knows the word, leave it in the comments. I don't know what the word is either. But let's move on. Yeah? How does that sound? Let's go to talk about something that I actually got a question about this, and you fit the exact profile that I'd like to ask this question to. I got a question on one of my videos, and this girl said, I'm a white girl. I am blue eyes. I think you have blue eyes, right? I have blue eyes. Have blonde hair. What's it like over there in Colombia for someone that looks like me? So could you answer that question, please?
Of course. Yeah, if you look like that, you'll definitely going to be in the center of attention. But it also depends where, because I feel like in Poblado, people are so used to like Americans or Europeans that when they see them, it's like, yeah, whatever. But here, probably like Envigado and those more local places, it's not like you would think it is. I haven't really felt like unsafe here looking the way I look, like being blonde, blue eyes, definitely not local. Like I don't look local.
What would you say? So another woman coming here, do you need to give them tips, or would you just say, don't worry about it, it's completely safe? Do whatever you want.
I would never say that.
Okay.
To anyone going anywhere, to be honest.
Okay.
Because yeah, Colombia definitely, like, this country has a very bad PR globally. Even before I came here, like, people were telling me, hey, they killed there in the street, like you're gonna get robbed or whatever.
Sure.
And yeah, at the very beginning I was like a stupid gringa. I was like literally with my phone I was feeling like I was just in Europe. But basically, like, just don't carry a lot of cash, like very general tips that I think they will like apply for majority of places. Like, you have a card, make sure that you just transfer the amount that you're gonna be using, because in case you get robbed, they can just bring you to an ATM and just like basically tell you withdraw more. So when you have like two accounts linked to one another, you can just withdraw, I don't know, like $100-$200, and that's it. Leave like all your valuables in the house, obviously. Like, I mean, don't look homeless, but like if you're coming here and you have a bag, purse, or a backpack and you're going to a crowded place, just make sure to put it in front of you so that no one gets, no one can
open it and take your stuff.
Exactly. Don't walk alone. I mean, just very obvious, like common sense, right? Don't walk alone at night. I had a friend from the US. She's from South Dakota, so very safe, basically. So she was here in Medellin, and she decided, hey, I'm gonna go for a walk at midnight, and she just got robbed. I would like recommend, for instance, taking, like, instead of taking a cab from the street, especially if you don't speak Spanish or don't know the city, better to just like book an Uber or Cabify or Didi. There's plenty of apps in there. You have a location you can share just in case, like very common sense.
Before you started with all these rules, yours. You said like, these are basically things that you do in all cities. This is definitely not what you do in all cities. This list of like 10 things that you said, this is very specific to Latin America, this kind of stuff. Like you're not in South Dakota doing all these things.
No, obviously no, but like
Does
no,
that
but like anywhere you go, just
yeah.
touristy, you should.
Many people say as well, it's not worth it to come and live in Medellin if I have to do all these things. Because some people might not want to be thinking of all these safety things and being aware of their surroundings. Has that ever been irritating for you? Or you're just like, hey, I take the good with the bad?
No, actually, this is not an effort at all. I'm from a small town, so obviously I was walking with a phone. So probably that's the only thing that I'm actually like aware that I shouldn't be doing. You shouldn't be really doing it, but I've lived here for, I mean, not so long, but 5 years enough for me to kind of like feel where it's safe for me to use the phone and where not. So I don't really like, I don't even think about it anymore. And I don't think it's like big of an effort. Like just, I know you want to take pictures, especially when you're here for a weekend or like a few days, but yeah, just look around. That's it.
I'm the same as you. When I first got here, I learned all the tips and basically it took me like 2 weeks to be like, okay, I don't do it anymore. And now I don't even think about it. I don't care. Like it's not that hard to not be speaking on your phone when you're walking on the road and not wearing flashy things. But I guess for some people that's a big effort. And I just think those type of people are better off to not come here. One other thing I wanted to ask you, but I always ask my guests to promote their business or their Instagram or whatever they want to do. Is there anything like that you would like to talk about?
I do have a little passion of mine, which is like social media, short videos about my experiences, funny stuff, because I like to like goofy around from time to time. So like ask my boyfriend to record some videos, you know, hashtag international couple, because it's like actually hilarious. So I basically have an Instagram account, Jess in Medellin, Medellin double L is like, I'm sorry, in American, Medellin.
What other tips do you have for people who want to come to live in Medellin?
One of the stereotypes about Colombia is that life here is like super cheap. Like you can literally live here for like $500 or less a month, and you're gonna live like a lord. No, not true. Especially if you're picking like touristy places like Poblado.
What's your monthly budget? Or expenses, I should say.
I don't want to calculate it.
You don't want to think about it. But what do you think? Ballpark figure. We're saying 500 is full of shit. Like, these guys need to stop making videos about living on 500 because you can't do it. Well, you can do it, but you got to live in some bloody hut somewhere far away.
You definitely can do it if you're going to live like a local and eat like frijoles.
For a comfortable life, I'm guessing you live pretty comfortable. I mean, your room looks nice with a guitar and all this stuff over there. So how much do I need to live a nice and comfortable life?
Yeah, I think that's important, because if you're like European or whatever, you have a certain standard of living, which is considered a high standard here. Regular standard somewhere else, it's pretty high here. If you want to maintain that same lifestyle, I would say like at least $2,200 at least. I would say even more, because if you're making $2,000, you're probably gonna spend half the money on rent, if not more. Probably when you get 3, you're gonna have a pretty nice life. Like half the money is gone, so you have the rest to live.
That is definitely accurate. 2K to 3K is probably good for most people. Thanks for the interview, Jess. Thanks for watching, guys. If you want to continue on the rabbit hole of interviews about expats living in Medellin, then watch this video because I think you're really going to like it.